Greetings and salutations, race fans, motorsport lovers, and others. And welcome to the last day of Dakar 2021, the South African influence. It's the fat lady's warming up somewhere, and hopefully she will start singing. It's been an absolutely spectacular race, and we've been very, very lucky to have numerous unbelievable people join us. In studio, and I've got to get this right, I was going to say Taki the Greek, but I've got to say Taki Bojages from Motul. Taki, thank you very much for joining us. Nice to have you in studio.
Thank you very much for having me on the show, and thanks for all your guys' coverage and catch-ups after each stage. It's been great just following you guys and getting some extra information about Dakar.
We've got a special guest that we'll introduce, a very, very special guest on the line from KwaZulu-Natal. We'll get to him shortly. As per normal, Andrew, the horn dog, will look after your comments and the queries that you put onto Facebook and YouTube. Andrew, last day, welcome back.
How's it, Colin? Yeah, geez, you know, it feels like just yesterday we were doing our first show for stage one. It's absolutely flown by, and so much has happened in this period. It's been quite something.
And last of our regular, the crew, shall we call her, from somewhere on the tip of Southern Africa, close to the sea, Steffi Vetter of the Southern African Dakar Group. Steffi, last one, hey? No more, what are we going to do in the evenings?
Hello, Colin. Hello, Andrew. Nice to see you, Taki. I cannot believe this tumultuous 2 weeks is actually over. I'm already having withdrawal symptoms, but we've got lots to talk about tonight. We've got such an interesting guest, and I can't wait to get cracking, and let's do it again.
Let's do it again. Well, without any further ado, the hard man of Dakar in South Africa, a man who's a veteran of 13 Dakars. He's the second overall, is his highest finisher on a bike. Alfie Cox from Cato Ridge. Thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to Raceday.
Good evening, guys. Thanks for having me on the show.
Alfie, you must be looking at this race and thinking it's been so close, it's been ups and downs. As per normal Dakar, there have been heartbreaks. Last day today, engines break and you don't finish. It's been a brilliant race. What do you think?
Yeah, look, I mean, we know that Dakar is not just a walk in the park. You have to dig deep, and at the moment it's a lot different to what we did in North Africa. But the pace is high, the guys are racing every day, and it's, as we've seen, there's been good days and there's been some very bad days. But yeah, all in all, I think exactly how you say the Dakar, and that's exactly how they have perceived this race, you know, difficult navigation, trick you up every day, give you two meanings in the road book, make the waypoints difficult to find, and to try and create emotion. That's what the Dakar. It's an organization that does things that you know, they want the journalists to write about something, want to see people trip up. I know it's very cruel to some, and some of them, some people feature out of it, but that's the Dakar Rally. It's not, you don't go there for a haircut, you know, you go there to really to dig deep.
And deep, many do have to dig. And you mentioned that story. ASO also run Tour de France, which is seen as
the ASO.
Yeah, by some as a tourist guide to France, also a hard endurance race. And that aspect of the show and the entertainment part, particularly in the first couple of weeks of January when nothing else is there, it's vital that they create talking points. So let's make the navigation hard, and then have the issues or the controversy around the road books. It kind of gets the fever going for the last 2 or 3 days as the race reaches its end.
Well, I think the good thing now is you've got somebody like David Castura, who was Stefan Peter Hansel's water carrier, and he raced the Yamaha TDM 850 alongside Peter Hansel. He is French, and he knows exactly what the Dakar organizers. He worked very closely with all the presidents of the Dakar Rally, and he understands what people want, and they are trying to change a lot of things in terms of road books and to make it a little bit easier in reading the road book. But they've got to trick people up every day, you know, give you a two meaning for something, and which we've seen during the Dakar. Every day, blokes have said it's navigation, and, you know, whether the outsiders all reckon, no, it's the navigation's too difficult and stuff like that. You know, unfortunately, the fastest rider doesn't always win a race like the Dakar Rally. A clever guy who can navigate, which is a little bit unfair in a way, because you can be quick, but you have to learn how to navigate. And unfortunately, that's the name of the game. It's a navigation rally.
Isn't, you know, you talk about quick riders, and we've got Taki here and, who runs in the Kawasaki's now on cross-country bike racing. So if you want to be a really quick rider, you go cross-country bike racing around a sort of a relatively closed loop, and it's a relatively simple. Dakar takes... my question to you is, could we have been spoilt by some of the super quick enduro type riders who've now been shoved into Dakar and with limited navigation experience?
Well, that's what's happened now, but those guys won't only go to the Dakar during the year. During the year, they won't go just to the Dakar at the end of the year, I mean. So during the year, they will go. As you know, Ricky Bragg, before he came here, he spent months in the desert down in America, in Baja, you know, learning navigation together with guys that are specialists in this field. It's the same as what happens now. All the youngsters will go that want to go to the Dakar. If you want to do well, it's all very well if you just want to go and tick your box and come home with a medal. Then you don't even have to know anything about navigation, because you're never going to be in the front, and you're just going to follow the dust, and you're going to follow the guys in front of you. So you're not really worried about doing well. But if you want to do well, navigation, you've got to go and learn that thing, do navigation courses. And there's a lot of them around. I know in Namibia, Ingo Waldschmidt and a couple of guys have got hundreds of kilometers of marked GPS routes with a road book, which teaches the guys that want to learn about navigation. First thing that guys normally do, I know Bradley's going down to Spain. What COVID last year stopped him. And the manager of KTM team, Jordi, he runs a navigational school down there. Ross Branch has been to it. Daryl Curtis has been to it. All of our South Africans that have gone there have been to Jordi's school just to get the basics and the fundamentals of what you need to do when you go to the Dakar, because you have to get inside the guy that's marking the course. You have to understand what he does every day and why is he doing it. And once you learn that, the rest of it can become easy.
So it's not just about reading a set of instructions.
It's not just about reading a set of instructions, because in my day, the GPS the screen was on all the time. Yeah. So we not only had instructions, we had an arrow indicator to follow, and we had a compass bearing as well. But now the GPS is switched off, and you've only got instructions and a compass heading. And we all know compass headings can be within, and that's where the problems come. They tell you, stay within 5 or 10 degrees, whatever it is, but that 5 and 10 degrees, if you're on the wrong course, ends up being 50 degrees, and then you know you're wrong. And that's what you've seen all the guys. Then you come back, and frustrated as you are, it's time that you never can get back. You've lost it. And it can get you. You have to be a little bit calmer when that happens. I know it's easy to say sitting in the lounge, but I had lots of days like that where you could really spit spiders, because you've ridden so hard for say the special is 300-400 kilometers, and you've done so well for 300 kilometers, and then you've lost in the last 50 kilometers home, you've got lost, and you've thrown away that good day. It is frustrating, but you've got to put it behind you and come and attack the next day.
Awesome. Steffi, Veta, and Andrew, when you've got comments, Andrew, just jump in and let's talk about them.
I've got just on that topic. Alfie, do you think that the way they've structured the road book and with the blind GPS now, it is more difficult than, say, the North African versions of the Dakar you did?
So if I can interrupt, I can't hear Andrew. I can only hear Steffi.
Ah, okay. We'll get our wizards onto that. Steffi, just try again now, Andrew. Andrew, say
Alfie,
something.
can you hear me?
There we go. There we
Hey,
go.
awesome.
There you go. Alfie, I was
I thought
just
that was part of the show. He was just a
what
pretty face.
I'm a like Charlie Chaplin. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Alfie, do you think the way they've structured the road books this year or in the last couple of years, coupled with the blind GPS, makes it more difficult than the Northern African versions you did, or a different challenge, not necessarily more
No,
difficult or easier?
for sure, that is exactly what they're trying to do. Otherwise, if they made it easy, where the navigator had an easy job, he just set a course and off you went, and they didn't give you two meanings when there's a split in the road, they have to try and trip the navigator up. And obviously on the motorcycle, it's more difficult because you're doing everything on your own. You're reading the road book, trying to go as fast as you can, watching the compass bearing, scrolling the road book at the same time, checking your distances, calculating the distances all the time, watching the speed. You're doing 5, 6 things at once. So your brain is like a squirrel cage on a motorbike, and your heart is in your throat as well. So so yeah, they have tried to make it because they need to have a race. They need to make something out of it, and the journalists have got good things to write about when blokes have a bad day. As sad as it sounds,
Yeah.
that's how it is.
The bad news always sells. Thank God we're not journalists. I think it's Steffi Vetter. Shall we quickly talk about the bike results and get that out of the way, and then have this? I mean, Alfie, it is so brilliant to talk to you with the level of insight, experience, and the fact that you're not shy to call a spade a frickin' shovel. We love that. Absolutely love that. Steffi, are you there?
I'm here. I'm definitely here, Colin. I'm just absolutely enthralled listening to Alfie. It's inspiring, and it's so amazing to have someone who's got so much experience and so much to give. And I'm so excited about your news. I think before we go to the results, so Colin, we
Yeah.
do have to pay our respects to Pierre Cherpin,
Yeah.
who has sadly passed away today. He incurred his injuries on stage 7, so between Hale and Sakaka. At about 178 kilometers, he unfortunately crashed. He suffered severe head injuries. He had had neurosurgery. He was in an induced coma. It was his 4th Dakar, and our deepest condolences go out to his family. Another dark day for Dakar. He died doing something he loved, but that's small solace to his family and friends.
Yeah, race on in the sky. And just on that, to pick up a comment that Alfie made about media and looking for a story. We've seen at the Nürburgring and at Le Mans, whenever there's death of riders, there's a great feeding frenzy of people, and inevitably there's more interest in that same race next year. It's a hard price to pay, but respect, and we hope he won't be the last. But we hope it's a long, long time before somebody else doesn't make the end of the race. So,
Absolutely.
If I
Colin, do you
can
want
just
to tell
add,
you the result?
yeah,
Yes.
Alfie.
if I can just add a little bit to that, it was the organizers work tirelessly, and they think of ideas and how to make the race safer all the time. It's not, I mean, I lost 4 of my teammates in the years that I raced in the Dakar and also other rallies as well. But when you think of it, it almost became like the Dakar was a killing machine. That's how it was, 20 years ago. And then the organizers were trying to work out how could they make it safer. And one of the things that they did to make it safer, this bike that's behind me here is a 700cc single cylinder. It's based around the LC4 KTM, the old 640 Adventure. And this bike weighs, dry weight is about 180 kilograms. And it's got almost 50 liters of fuel on it, because we had to do 340 kilometers in between refuels.
Wow.
And this bike runs with almost 50 liters of fuel. So there's your first problem that you have, is if you're not an experienced rider, somebody who can ride something this big and go as fast. This bike does 190 k's an hour. We had no speed limits in those days. Then the organizers worked to say, in the beginning, it was only bikes like KTM, because KTM handmade a motorcycle like what we've got. Privateers could buy it, and all of a sudden you've got this fancy machine that you've never ridden before, inexperienced, coming to do a race like the Dakar in North Africa, where the unknown is against you every day. So then this is hence where the 450s came in. So the Dakar organizers tried very hard to understand when most of the crashes happened after the refuel, when the bike was fully laden with fuel. Most of the people, it's the statistics show that normally straight after a refuel, the bike is fully loaded, and when you're going fast and you hit a 2 caution or even a 1 caution, can throw you off, and that's when most of the guys crashed when the bike was heavy. So that's hence where the 450s came in it, because most manufacturers make a 450, and that was the brilliant thing about it. We managed to get Honda back, we've managed to get Sherco back, people that we haven't heard of, all make 450s. Yamaha, KTM, all make 450s, and a bloke can go and buy a 450, make it into a Dakar bike, and come to the Dakar and race.
And also the stages, the refueling is
shorter, and the refueling, now I think the bike only has 26 or 28 liters of fuel on it. It's a 450cc, it's got a speed limit to it, and that's why we have had less and less injuries, and obviously they try everything they can. And I must be honest, when it was a big thing for the Dakar, I mean, even the Pope got involved at one stage, he wasn't calling it, but he was getting involved as well, because when a big name like Fabrizio Mioni, the Italian, got killed, people were up in arms. What is the Dakar trying to do? But the organizers went out of their way to try and make it as safe as it can. Sure, getting on a motorbike and going 100 kilometers an hour on an off-road with not knowing, and 90% of the crashes come when the guy's not looking at the road book. And all of a sudden there's a 2 and 3 caution on the road book, but he's watching the bloke in front of him because he's inexperienced, and next minute he hits a hole and unfortunately upside down. That's where most of the accidents happen. So as far as the organizers are concerned, I stand with them 100%, trying to make the race as safe as possible. We know that off-road racing is dangerous.
Especially now that I don't know if it's public knowledge, but your son wants to do Dakar. I mean,
it's a worrying thing, but I will never send him to the Dakar if I knew he didn't have experience. He races the cross-country series in South Africa. It's short, fast, high-speed races, and if you're good at that, you should be able to go and do. Comes from a motocross background. He knows how to ride in sand. You can't go to the Dakar just drinking a beer and giving a bet with your friends, because you're going to come home in the middle of the night every day. And in my day, it was 3 weeks, the Dakar. So you can only last 1 week riding for 12, 14 hours a day. The second week, the fatigue is going to get you, and you're going to crash and go out of the race. Yes, the race is much shorter now, only 12 days, but still, Mr. Alexandra, if he keeps coming in at 6 o'clock every morning, you can only do that for so many days. And that is when people are going to get hurt. And maybe the organizers made a good decision to send him on the road on the second last day, because they can understand trying to go and fetch a man in the middle of the desert who's fatigued. It is dangerous.
And it's also pretty cold in Saudi this time of year. Steffi, let's get these results out of the way so we can talk interesting stuff. I want to talk to Taki about the Motul Originals or the Mali Motos. I'm going to stick with Mali Motos because in my mind the Oaks are absolutely mull. So today's stage, short and quick. Enough to say there was one huge piece of drama for the Yamaha, and then the Hondas first and second. Tell us about the drama.
Well, it was another sad day for Yamaha racing today. Adrian van Beveren had technical problems 30 kilometers into the stage, and that was their last rider standing. But on an absolute high. Look, we always knew it was going to be hard for Sam going out. Benavides had a blistering pace, but of course he had to keep Ricky, off his tail. So they were going blow for blow. It's the first time 1-2 Honda since 1987, it's a phenomenal on the final stage. The first 2-1-2 Honda on the final stage. So where did we end up today? I can say it with absolute pleasure. Ricky Brabeck took the stage. Unfortunately, I lost my bet. Kevin Benavides 2 minutes 17 off Ricky Brabeck on the Honda. Then we've got the KTM orange train that just came bashing in at them. You've got Matthias Volkner, Skylar House on the rally replica. Yeah. Daniel Sanders, first rookie, brilliant showing from him. Mitchek. Then you've got Santolino on the Sherco. You've got Pedro Garcia, but now we haven't really heard of him up until now, so he had a really good stage. Joaquim Rodriguez, he came to play again today on the Hero, and then we basically ended up with Betru on the KTM rounding out that top 10, but only 12 minutes. Only 12 minutes in that stage. It was all to play for. It was foot flat, boy. Let's go. So what happened in the end?
And then in the overall, let's just first, in our race day thing, who had Kevin Benavides for the win?
It was me.
On your comment.
It was me.
I wasn't here.
It was the horn dog who had him. So our tech guys
It was Andrew.
Our tech team.
Yeah, so the Argentine, Kevin Benavides, well done, Andrew. But gutted, Ricky came in 4 minutes 56 just behind him, and Sam rounded out the podium 15 minutes behind. The balance of the
Skylar, our man.
Yeah, I was very happy with Skylar. Skylar's performance, 5th overall. There was a really, really emotional video that came to light today with Skylar just trying to express his feelings. Fritz, have you got that video anywhere close by? Okay, I'm sure we'll come back to it, because Skylar actually finished in 5th, and that's a great improvement on last year. And don't forget, he was on the 450 Rally replica with the Baz Dakar KTM racing team, Bart van der Velden, Jos van Aar, Leon van Barkel, all looking after him, as well as Olaf. My darling Olaf also finished. He crashed out. And then you've basically, it did, like I said last night, the elastic band snapped. So you had a good 2-hour gap in that top 10. But suffice to say, it was a Honda 1-2, and I'm sure that Alfie is going to give us a lot more insight, and Taki, on what actually went down in the last 2 weeks to end up where we are today.
But that's not all, because 17th was Leia Sands. Have to mention the lady riders after getting cucked out yesterday, because have some kind of sexist bloody comments. So there we have a lady. And then the first Lithuanian in the history of the world to complete the Moto Originals, and he won it. Now I've got to get this right. In 21st position, Aranis Gelazaka hold on, I've just got to have some respect here. Gazal Ninkas from Lithuania as the first of the Motos, first Lithuanian, and he was a rookie as well. We have to mention James Alexander, 113 minutes, and then, so, yeah, it's been a bloody brilliant race. Absolutely brilliant. Alfie, from your point of view, what were the highlights of this race for you?
No, I just think the highlights were the up and downs of this guy did well, and I mean, who gave Brabeck ever a chance of coming back 30 minutes when he threw the race away? So did when he got lost and he had to crawl his way back. You know, in our day, if you lost 30 minutes, you were basically out of the race, you know, because the leaders just hooked onto the next second guy, and you just used him all the way to the end of the race. Peter Hansel did it to us in the first Dakar I went to. You know, he was on a big twin cylinder, and so in Europe, where the stages were tight and muddy and tough, he never won a stage. Once we got into Africa, into the desert, and that V-twin power came into hand, he would blow us away by 20 minutes in one stage, and then he would just control the race all the way to the end. But this was really one guy down 20 minutes, you know, crawled his way back. The next guy was leading. It was great to see so many people taking the lead, and blokes that you never thought had a chance crawl their way back. So I think if you can call it an up and down race. Yeah, I think it was good for the spectators, and yeah, some people had bad times in the race, and I mean somebody like Ross was really doing a fantastic job, and yeah, he was plagued but we've all had engine problems, all manufacturers. I mean, we also had our problems in the year 2000 when we went from Dakar to Cairo. We had a treacherous engine troubles all the way along with KTM, but they bounce back, find all these little niggles and crannies, and come back and make the engine stronger and better at the end of the day. They don't just
And
give up.
you can do as much testing and development and dyno work and think that you've got problems sorted, but the minute you stick it
Till you go
into
to the race.
a race,
Yeah. Race mode, yeah.
something happens. And
Yeah.
it's hard. It's meant to be hard. It's frickin' Dakar. It's a
That's
massive
exactly
challenge.
what it is, yeah.
And it's a challenge for the riders, the bikes, the mechanics, everybody involved. Absolutely everybody.
I think with the mechanical side, just from my side, so I was there last year in the Motul lab, and we do oil sampling for every rider at Dakar. Is welcome to bring his oil, and we check it out and see what's going on. And a big part of it is just the environment that those bikes get put into at the race. I mean, something stupid that a bit of sand's getting pulled into that engine at some stage, and that's what we try to help the riders with. I remember last year on my second day there, we picked up quite a high value of sand or silicone in the oil, and we managed to help the rider and just mention to him that there's somewhere sand's entering the engine, and he ended up finishing after finding the spot that the sand was coming in through.
Do you know what the spot was?
From my understanding, it was just a bit of it wasn't the bike's air filter wasn't where the air filter box joins onto the engine. There was a bit of a leak coming through there, a bit of a tear in that little air boot, and there was a bit of dust coming through there, and that would actually end the rider's race 2 or 3 days later. Well, we picked it up, and he managed to correct that error, and he ended up finishing the race. And small things like that. I mean, this year I think the lab did over 500 oil samples. And it's just trying to track what's happening in all the engines and try to support the guys if they are facing issues. I know a lot of the teams this year were facing fueling issues, and they were mapping.
You mean water issues with the fuel?
Not necessarily just that, but also overfueling, altitude, and differences all the way around the country in Saudi. And with the oil sampling, you can pick up if a bike's overfueling and what that's doing to the oil. And small things like that, just helping them with that technical backing. And that's the reason that the lab's there. It helps us with R&D, but also that give back to all the riders, all the drivers. Every single team's welcome to use it.
So even if I was, say, using, I don't know, Castrol, whatever, oil, I could take, and what's it, about 100 milliliter sample?
Yeah, we use a little cap full, I mean, not even the amount of oil that you can hold in a cap of water. And we sample everybody's oil. I mean, no, if you're using any competitor's brand, it actually helps us with our R&D as well to see where we're performing against other products.
Sneaky. I think that's a brilliant service, and probably must make a big difference to reliability. Just on the Motul originals, you've got, I suppose, you supply a whole lot of product for the guy. The guys can just go and help themselves off the shelves and do all of that sort of stuff. But that's, I suppose, it goes back to the history or heritage of Motul and going back to the roots. And
yeah, well, Motul's always been a racing-driven brand. I mean, it's part of our blood as such. We're always involved in any form of racing. And Original by Motul, the category that we took over in 2018, started with the Motul branding, and we supply lubricants to all the riders. And we also supply the oil service to them and oil analysis and just technical advice. So we're not allowed to touch the bikes and help them on the bikes themselves, but queries, I mean, there's a whole Motul team there that's often just trying to help the guys where they can, because a lot of those riders come in late at night and they've spent hours and hours on the bike, and they just need a bit of advice on something small or want to know who they can ask this question to. And I mean, that's just a role that we try to support them in that.
yeah, awesome. Steffi, you the bike chick, bike lady, sorry. I apologize to all the women. If I haven't offended you yet, hang on, your turn might come. Steffi, talk to us more about the bikes and stuff.
Colin, you're incorrigible. I absolutely love it. You know what? I have to say that we haven't actually talked about James Alexander. And as you all know, I was incredibly upset last night when I got the message directly from James on his group to say that he was in trouble. And we do understand that, they took the maximum penalty. But the update on James is it was crazy when he came into the finish today. He didn't realize it would be such a rush. They took the ERT off. He standing there. Ross came up and took a video of him. They restructured his flights. He had to do a COVID test in 4 hours. He is basically getting on a flight tomorrow morning at 4 a.m. with Rossi, and they're flying directly via Addis back to Gabs because of all the new COVID restrictions. And I really, really hope, Fritz, you've got that video because it was so exciting, and I know that everybody wants to see it. And James, he has become a bit of an urban legend. He's got so many more. There were more last night. We even got Sir Alexander the Great, King of Botswana. He needs to be the president of Botswana, Mr. Teapot, Knight Rider, you name it, they came through. So from my side, I am extraordinarily happy that James started. Let's have a look at James before he actually started. So just to sort of catch everybody up from last night, the absolute lows, the absolute highs. Here's James.
Okay.
Hi guys, look who I found.
Thank
Two great
you.
legends of the sport.
Bravo, good job for you, huh?
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Guys, there's the stage entry in the background. We've done our first liaison. The guys are just chilling here, chatting. We're all determined to enjoy this last 200 Ks instead of dreading it. Go in there with the right attitude, take it on, get through it. We're probably going to ride as a group, a couple of us, which makes sense. And it's just been such a close call to stay in this. Incredible what happened last night. I think forcing their hand by going into the stage really made the difference because there was no way that I was going to ride in Dakar Experience today. I wouldn't have ridden. I couldn't have coped with that. So going into the stage, spoke to the race director this morning and said thanked him profusely. He said, no, you deserve to have the chance. So yeah, here we go. And I'll send you guys a clip later on. Thanks guys.
So there you have it. I mean, it's been an extraordinary, epic journey for him. And of course, how can we not forget about Rossi, who's been amazing sending us footage. We spoke to him last night. Here's what happened when James actually arrived back after stage 12.
Woohoo! Hey!
Let me show you guys something. Let me show you buggers something.
Yeah, that's it.
That's
Woo!
the one.
Yeah, well done. Well done.
Thank you, man.
That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well done, James.
So I didn't
Show it to us, come on.
I didn't realize when we arrived here, they rush you straight through every track. Hey everyone. Geez, it's all got a bit hectic here. No rest for the wicked.
Congratulations,
the podium went very well. Thanks for sending the clip. I really liked David Costera. He's a really good chap, the race director, and we had a quick chat there. Ross has got us on Ethiopian Air because I understand that South Africa's closed. So I've been dashing around furiously. I'm on this COVID bus now out of some tasting place. We can get the result in 4 hours. And then basically we're on the Ethiopian Air at 4 in the morning back to Gabs. But it's been a roller coaster ride. Jeez, incredible. But this medal is not leaving my pocket. I'll send a picture of it actually. It's this thing is not leaving my pocket until I get back to Botswana. Great guys, thank you all so much for the great wishes, and we'll catch you guys back in Botswana. All the best, guys. Thank you.
I certainly think that legend of James Alexander is going to live for a long, long time, Colin.
I think that level of support that people have got for James and the exploits, I'm looking forward to next year when we've got a whole bunch of South Africans, and if you start looking at Ross Branch, guaranteed he's going to be on the podium next year, has to be. And then the return of the Cox name to Dakar. I think it's going to be stunning. It's going to be huge, magnificent. Andrew, talk to us quickly before we go to cars, because I want to come back and talk to Alfie and the FIA and the ASO and emotions and medals and a short Frenchman.
Anne-Marie Prinsloo says she's so happy for James. She was in tears last night when we broke the news that he wasn't going to finish. And we've had Mercia Janssen Motul on the line with us, and she says Motul also supplies the tents and all the setup for the original by Motul.
Did Mercia, if you can go back to her and ask her for confirmation on the giveaway that Motul will have tonight to go along with the Toyota Gazoo Racing giveaways that we had last night. I'm sure if you just message, in fact, Mercia, she's watching, so she'll come back to you, Andrew, and if you can just announce us. And
sure.
Fritzy, we've got the Motul shop in here in the Vatswaye place. Just if you can give our watchers a look at this Motul shop. It's magnificent. My hands are so clean. They've never been this clean. I used Motul hand cleaner today. What's it called?
Gel.
But you won't give me some. I am pissed off.
You'll buy
Mercia, can I have some hand cleaner, please?
And it'll be perfect.
Okay, quickly.
For 3 years, 4 years, you'll love it.
Andrew, yeah, there you go. There's the Motul shop, so we're going to sort some stuff out. Andrew, quickly, some more questions for Alfie or comments and stuff.
I've got a cool question from Evan Hutchinson. What are Alfie's thoughts on map men being taken out of the equation and the effect they've had on this year's race?
Well, I think that's not a bad thing at the end of the day, because it gives the outsiders, the privateers that also spend a lot of money to go to the race that can't afford map men. I think that's not a bad thing what they've done. It's one less guy to take to the race, and it makes the navigator and the driver, if they're together, obviously the driver and the navigator in cars, being able to communicate to each other, because the driver, somebody like Stefan Peter Hansel, with that many Dakars and wins behind his belt, he has to know a little bit of insight, being a Frenchman, and he's got to have a little bit of experience what the actual organizer was trying to do during the day. And on a motorcycle, to be given the road book in the morning, I must be honest, it's look, the good thing about it is we used to spend 3 to 4 hours after dinner going through our road book, marking it, and obviously cross-referencing with the index book. And in my day, the whole road book was in French, so I had to have an English index book and swap all the French names, change them. So it took 3-4 hours to do the road book until you learned all the French abbreviations, which you learned quite quickly, because you only had to do it for a couple of days, and eventually you knew what they were talking about. So I think to get rid of the map mem, it's a great idea. To change this format, I think it's something that they have to try. It's working, and they will only make it better. I think it will become electronic in the near future. I'm pretty sure it will become electronic. And I don't think it's a bad thing at the end of the day.
Right, shall we move on to cars?
I agree.
Very, very quickly. So, stage 12, Yazid Al-Raji in the Toyota with Dirk van Zitzwitz. Remember him from navigating with Janil. They were blitzing the stage, and then a couple of kilos from the end, I think it was 40-odd kilos from the end, the engine expired. They were running on Ural, not Motul, must have been. So Carlos Sainz wins it. We always knew he was going out on attack from NASA and Matthew. And then Monsieur Dakar, Stefan Peter Hansel, Edward Bullinger, winners of the race overall. The fourth place in the stage, Cyril Dupre and Michael Horn, him an ex-South African, but we'll call him a South African, whatever, in the Peugeot 308. And there's the story with that is that they're going to try the harebrained idea of making hydrogen what work for a while. Brian Baragwanath, Tay Perry in 8th ahead of Matthew Saradori and Fabian Lurken in the CR6s. Janil and Alex 10th. And Shamir Variawa 17th with Dennis Murphy, which I thought was pretty cool. Marcelo Gastaldi and Lorival Roldan, get it right, 42 minutes behind in 33rd place. So that gives in the overall Peter Hansel the win, which is just I mean, he won one stage. NASA, I think, won 4. And what Alfie was saying earlier about the consistency of, he was always right up there, and he didn't have many mistakes. Jakob Przgonski and Timo Golchuk in 4th. Great result for them. Absolutely great result. And then Nanny Roma, Alexandra Winnock in the Pro Drive car. Janelle de Villiers 8th, another top 10. Cyril Dupre, Mike Horn in 10th. And then the rookie was the debut in their first Dakar in a bike, and a BAIC. And I've got to just work with me while I work my tongue around the guy's name. You can see it, so you're laughing already, because you know I'm going to screw this up. It's Big Long Lou is the driver's name, and Wenky Ma. So Big Long Lou and Wenky Ma they were 13th overall and winners of the rookie in the bike. Shami Variawa, Dennis Murphy were 21st. I promise you they are real. They really, really are. And there were three bikes. I see. There were 3. I apologize.
Oh, that's
I'm sorry.
not
I'm
well.
supposed to. I apologize to everybody. It's totally unprofessional, because in 14th position, also in a bike, was Goyu Zhang and He Sha, also from China, and then it was Yanggu Lui and Hong Kong Pan, and they were 15th in a bike as well. And Marcelo Castaldi and Laraval rolled in with 29th by Brian Baragwanath and Tay Perry, amazing, were 32nd.
If I may interject, I'm so glad the Chinese have got a firewall, because you'd be in so much cuck right now.
I thought I did very well. It's Bing Long Lu and Wenky My Bike in the bike. Anyway, I think it's absolutely brilliant. We've got to be cognizant of the Chinese and coming to take over the race with their stuff. And sure, Steffi, rescue me.
I don't know if I really want to. I think you must suffer the consequences of your own pain. Colin, yeah,
I'm in a world of pain.
Let's quickly talk the CR6s. They ended up in 8th. They had a slow puncture. They had to tap off on the last 50 Ks. But it was just, what a great achievement for that tiny, weeny little privateer team. I'm so proud of Julian Hardy and his team. They've done exceptionally well. 5 CR6s, 5 finished. All I can say is hats off to them. And, he works so hard. He's already developing new things. I know he is. I also want to make special mention. You can see Harmon in the back, H. In Corsi as well was there. Juan Moore, Philippi Bart, Donovan Fick, and of course Brian and Tab. What an incredible team. They've done so well, so proudly South African, and I'm truly happy for them. I think they've done an incredible job, and it can only get better. And I'm appealing to everybody out there. Please, guys, support local, get behind our teams, and let's get some corporate South African sponsors going here.
Yeah, look, there's Dakar's, what's it, 350 something days away. So there's a lot of stuff, and we at Raceday will certainly do whatever we can to add mileage to people to get involved. So Andrew, give us
we've already had your hunters come through just on that very topic of Dakar being 350 how many days away. How many Southern Africans are planning to compete at the Dakar in 2022? I'd say all of them, but we'll see closer to the time how many actually get there.
Yeah, look, we've had some guests on here. Simon Murray is committed to doing it, and I've seen some of the discussions in a side-by-side. I've seen some of those discussions. There will be a Pepper and a
Bradley
Pepper
Cox
in a car. There will be a Cox. There's a Branch. There's Steffi. You've got all the bike guys.
Yes,
Colin,
Jeff
I think if
Bravery's
I
going
can,
to be straight.
Say again,
I think
Alfie?
if I can step in there a little bit. You
Yes.
know, I know from my day going to the Dakar for the first time, and it was just incredible. I mean, obviously you built up a name in your country, whether you came from Zimbabwe, Botswana, South Africa. You know, when people believe that you or want to give you a chance to go and do something like that, the people that are around you that'll stand by you to put their hands in their pockets and help people go to the Dakar. And that's how Hazel and I raised the funds. Ralph Pitchard was my mechanic the first time. And it was just amazing how the South Africans just, we did raffle tickets and people just dipped in. And you know, now we're here, we got a Zimbabwean contingent coming next year. We all know the Thixton brothers. We know Graham Sharp, he did the Dakar the year before last. The three of them are planning to go. Everybody in Zimbabwe, I know, will be behind them. The businessmen will put their hands in their pockets. And, you know, that's how it all works. I mean, we know how Ross got to the Dakar the first time. And it's just an amazing how people travel this journey together with somebody who's they think has got a chance to do well in the Dakar rally. So, I mean, I still thank people today, and I get met in the airport and people still say to you, you know, it's so great what you've done for motorsport and everything. And it's just, that's just a nice feeling to know that people were generous and they just helped guys go to the Dakar. And we're going to see that again. And I'm sure 22, we're going to have all these guys that are committing to it now, they'll go. And I know it's a short time, 300 and something days, but I think when people believe that you can go and do something, people will help you out, whether what country you come from. So yeah, we're going to have a big contingent next year, and I must be honest, to see the Frenchie from the CR6, he's been working timelessly, and he made a name at the Dakar, and I wouldn't mind driving that car as well. So maybe I'll try and ask for a drive here at one of our local races. I'll speak to Century, but yeah, it looks like
Alfie,
a
I
lot
love
of fun.
that, how you start with a half a hint and then just go
Yeah.
straight in
And
and
then I hit it.
can
Yeah,
drive
no.
it. Because
Organise
let
it,
us not
do it.
forget that you won the Class D championship in the South African cross country off-road series at the time in a Nissan. So you've got experience on, but you've done Dakar in, well, one and a
Yeah,
half
so-
Dakars in cars. And so, well, Century, hook Alfie up with a drive there.
I'm going to go and help Bradley and make sure he uses his brain and promise Hazel that he's going to not be stupid out there, because we all forget about who we leave behind when we go to a race like the Dakar. And yes, it's fantastic now. You can live stream. I mean, you see everybody. The social media platform is amazing. I mean, stand at the start line and you can say hello to your loved ones and post it immediately. In our day, you couldn't. I remember you had to dial up on a modem, and then Hazel would sit at home and watch your number going on the computer, and then all of a sudden the computer malfunctioned. So your number stayed still for half an hour. Okay, has he stopped? Has he crashed? What's happened? It's a lot of emotion at home as well, you know. So the people that sit at home and you just leave to go to the Dakar thinking that you're going for a good time, it's not difficult to. It's very difficult to leave your loved ones at home. But yeah,
said-
we're going to have a big contingent there next year.
You said in the beginning of, as you started talking, you're going to go there and make sure he doesn't do something stupid. What in your mind are those something stupids that somebody might get up to?
When the flag drops.
Well, as we spoke the other day, the typical rookie error, if I can call it that, you get caught up with the race. In other words, we saw Ross Branch a year or two ago win a stage, and then what happened the next day? Big crash, because now you're in front, you're going with the big guns. Unfortunately, you switch your brain off a little bit. You do take a element of risk. And yeah, it's called the rookie error, and you get caught up with it, and it can be dangerous, and you need to be able to calm down and take the next day, not like you're going to go and win the next day. Yes, you've had a good day. If you won a stage, that's first prize. Hein Latergaan, he's a perfect example. I'm not saying it was his fault, but you could see he came, I think he was second from
was
just
second
a
and then
couple of days into the
third,
race.
second, and
Yeah, and then the next morning, not far off the start line, boom, all hell broke loose. We call it a rookie error. Unfortunately, that is the Dakar, in other words. So yeah, I think to everybody that's a first timer, you see it all the time, and I would try to obviously calm him down. I don't say he's going to be in the front, but to tell him to take one day at a time, and remembering that the day is 12 or 13, the race is 12 or 13 days long, and it doesn't happen in the first kilometers of the race. You have to wait for the race. Glenn Hall was my perfect mentor when I raced for Nissan South Africa. He was a perfect mentor that always taught me when I was behind the wheel of a car, let the race come to you, don't go to the race. And I used that philosophy in all my car racing, and yeah, won championships through it, because being a biker and you get behind the wheel of a car, your instincts are flat out, because now you've got a roll cage, you've got seat belts, you've got a navigator that can pass you sweets all the way, and you just hold that thing. When you see rocks, you change up a gear, you don't shut off like a motorbike. And yeah, you think you're invincible in a roll cage, but the wheel can come off. You can take chances in the dust. You get hasty. You want to pass the guy in front of you, and the moment you move off the racing line, there's a rock waiting for you. Puncture the wheel, break the suspension off. These are all things you learn. Let the race come to you. Don't go to the race.
Love that bit of advice, Andrew Horn.
Got Justin Waddington from Shock Logic tuning in, and he says he remembers Hazel and young Bradley Cox at the end of Dakar in a pram waiting for me. So that's pretty cool. There's loads of George, one of them asking when Bradley's going to be at the Dakar. I know
got that answer,
we discussed
22
it before the show, maybe. Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, did Ralph Pitchford then move on to navigating for Duncan Foss after you, when Duncan started doing off?
So yeah, he navigated. I was always with Henny Testeger. He was my navigator, and Henny and I were a partner.
Right.
Ralph just came with me to the Dakar. I did 5 Dakars in 4 wheels, and the first Dakar Ralph came with me when we were with the X3, project together with Mr. Quant. So yeah, he came with me. Ralph was my mechanic for the first 2 or 3 years when I raced motorcycles. He was working for KTM then, and yeah, it was a good bond, and it was somebody that you knew you could rely on, and would do the job properly, and you could have peace of mind at the next day. Not worrying about did the guy tighten the bolts or leave something loose.
Good mechanic and a bloody good co-driver as well, Ralph Pitchford is.
Yeah, so, he cut his teeth, became a part of the Dakar family, and then, did a good job. Whatever he was set out to do, he did a good job. So, yeah, Brad's already campaigning. I'm sure there's a lot of guys in South Africa that are already campaigning to go next year, but we all know it costs a lot of money, and we are confident that the South African people will help out at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure.
They will arise to the occasion. Now, Taki, you race with Brad against him.
Yeah, we've raced a couple of races against each other, not necessarily in the same class. So yeah, it's going to be exciting to see another person we race against, face Dakar, and Kenny Gilbert, Ross Branch, now Brad going over. And I think like with our cars, we see that the cars are all built tough. I think the South Africans are also built tough. Yeah. And I do believe that we've got a lot of riders that can produce great results, and I'm sure Brad's going to put everything he can into it.
He's got the right kind of breeding. I mean, and who else? I mean, if your dad's been around the block just a few times, and he's kind of your coach.
Yeah, I think Brad's really a competitor that always gives his all, and I think he's got a great opportunity, and I'm sure he's going to give it his all and enjoy it and learn a lot and have many Dakars, hopefully not just one, and manage to race on and enjoy the rally scene. I think it's a total different lifestyle. I mean, after going there last year, I mean, it's a community. I think like Alfie said earlier, it's like everybody takes a sabbatical there. Everybody knows each other, and you'll sit down at dinner, and Carlos Sainz will come sit next to you and chat to you, and it's just one big community. It's a different scene of racing. I've been rallying. I was amazed. I was amazed at the organisation, the level, the scale of Dakar. I mean, they flew us from bivouac to bivouac. ASA used to fly the Motul team and all the organisers. I think 170 people from one bivouac to another. So it's really an amazing event to be part of and see what goes on behind the scenes. Yeah, I wish everybody the best of luck that would like to go do Dakar and are campaigning for Dakar. Yeah, and it's going to be exciting.
You say you did Dakar.
No, didn't do Dakar.
No, I mean, you went there. By flying between bivouac to bivouac, that's cheating. You have to get in the car and look at that frickin' trippy that squawks, and you're not allowed to go faster than, 80 in Bolivia or wherever it is. And you drive 1,000 Ks a day. Taki, you're a hard Greek man. You've got to be able to do this stuff. You need to go back and experience it on the ground.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it has to do with what Motul does at Dakar and the setup behind it. We'd fly from bivouac to the next bivouac, get there, you'll be there at 10 in the morning and you'll be setting up. I mean, all the original by Motul boxes have to be out. Like Moshe said, all the tents are provided by us. I learned a lot about what the guys in that category do. I mean, I stayed in the tent for 1 week, and I've got a lot of respect for them staying in the tent for 2 weeks and riding every day for so many hours. So there's a lot of setup that goes on behind the scenes. We have to get the lab up and running. We've got great partnerships with some of the factory teams like Honda Racing and Sherco. So when those first bikes come in, the lab has to be set up, check their oil, and always assisting them from that point of view, trying to make sure those bikes get to the finish line. Like Sherco this year, all 3 Shercos that started finished. 6th place for Santolino, it was a great finish, and there's just so much that goes on behind the scenes, and I mean, that organisation is insane. The way they get everything moved, and by the time everybody arrives, there's a massive setup, catering for everybody, doctors are there, monitoring every single driver, rider. I mean, Daryl showed me around last year just how they monitor every single competitor all the time. And I mean, if somebody stops too quickly for what a bike could stop, the chopper's in the air on the way to them. The safety behind it, it's incredible.
And so Kawasaki, new brand into cross-country bike racing this year. You've gone from a 350 to a 250, but it's quite an exciting move to start developing bike, and I mean, it's the first time it's going to be racing in South Africa. It's kind of exciting, eh? No pressure.
No pressure.
Because you've got Ian Pepper with Pepsi
Exactly. So
on there. I mean, Ian, he's a hard man, eh? He'll give you a clap upside the head if you don't go proper.
Yeah, I must say so. Ian came to me at the end of last year and said there's this opportunity, and we decided to go with it, and it's an exciting time. I mean, I think it's a total new concept, exciting content. Everybody involved's excited. I mean, we've got amazing partners involved, and everybody's just back here so much, and it's brought quite a bit of excitement to the racing scene again. And that's what we need. We need to grow the sport all the time. So I'm excited, something different, moving from the 350 to the 250 with everybody just backing me so much, and I'm really excited to race the bike.
I've learned so much over Dakar, and I've got new respect for bike riders. And we'd love to go and check out a race and see some stuff. Steffi Vetter, you've been unbelievably quiet. I mean, this is not normally you the talkative one.
You know what, Colin? You've got to actually just bow to absolute knowledge right now, and I'm loving every minute. I've had such a joy listening to Alfie, listening to Taki, getting just completely different information. You know, I'm the social media girl that goes and finds all the information and talks to all the people on the ground, which frees me up enormously. So it's just been so interesting listening to everything.
I've learned truckloads in the 2 weeks that we've done this. Alfie?
Yeah, true story there.
Your overall, just to sum up Dakar this year and what you expect going forward.
Well, I'm hoping you'll see some new. Maybe we'll see some guys changing teams. I think we'll see. We don't know if anybody's going to retire out of it from the top riders, but new blood, new things happening. I mean, the Chileans, the South Americans, and for those guys to be really running in the front of the Dakar, it's unbelievable. So, not the same guys all the time, but the American contingent that's come. We never saw Americans at the Dakar. Maybe one came in our time, but I just think just to see new faces and new guys giving it a go, it's exciting, and I'm sure it has been an exciting week. And some of us work all day, so we haven't got time to stand in front of the computer and watching where everybody is at each stage. But it's like, what do you do in January when the Dakar's on? People watch the Dakar and get involved in it. And the social media is quite amazing. I'm totally blown away about it because I'm a bit of a BC before computers, and what I can see you can put out there, it's just unbelievable. So as far as people getting involved in the Dakar, look at the mileage that somebody can get, even a scarf around the neck or an interview or something like that. People can get huge mileage just by the social media that's happening at the moment around the world. So it helps the riders to be able to give their families and their friends and even the bloke at the service station down the road that's given him a couple of bob to go to the race, giving him some mileage. So for me, that's just mind-blowing how this whole thing gets out to people. Millions and millions of people. It's unbelievable. But as far as the race, that is amazing. New manufacturers, new bikes getting involved. But KTM aren't going to take it lying down. It was very close. Obviously, Toby was our only hope, and I'm hoping that he's going to come back and give it a go, because I think he has still got one or two more Dakar wins under his belt. Sam, we see he cut his teeth. He's been crashing the last few Dakars, not finishing. That can't be a good pill to swallow. This year he used his head, took each day, attacked when he could attack. Matthias, I think he was unlucky to have that problem with the clutch in the beginning of the race, but we don't know what happened. Did he use the clutch too much? This is the things that you have to tell rookies. Don't use the clutch in the desert. Don't slip the clutch. Keep your finger away. Make sure it's got free play. These things can happen. You can burn the clutch so easy getting stuck in that soft sand, and unfortunately he had that problem and it threw him completely. But these are all things that teach you to make each day constantly, look after the bike. You've got to be a good mechanic, and that's exactly what I'm going to teach the youngsters now. You can't go to the Dakar not knowing what happens on the motorbike, how the wheels turn, what happens in the engine, when the wind's blowing the wrong way, the fan has got the bike's engine's not getting cooled down. You've got to know all these things, how to labor the engine. You've got to look after your machine, because that's the only thing that's going to get you to the finish. So there's a whole lot of things behind it, not just the guy that puts his helmet on and switches his brain off and holds it wide open all day. You've got to understand the machine as well, and that's what makes you a Dakar winner at the end of the day. How to make a plan. Ross, chain came off. How do you make a plan? How do you get that fixed quickly? Think of all these things, if something goes wrong. Toby, how to fix the tire. I mean, you know what I mean? Boer maak 'n plan. You've got to do something like that and get it right,
That tyre fix was absolutely magnificent. For sure, all riders are going to carry around extra heavy-duty tyre wraps from now on. Just talking about tyres, that the 6-tyre rule, I mean, in the beginning there was a whole lot of social media, keyboard warrior, quack, 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 quack about it. We spoke to some people about it. It didn't end up being an issue at the end of it, did it?
Well, having sand every day, you can go 3 days on a tyre, because the moment you get into rocks, so when we were in days like Morocco, we would come on the canvas in a 400-kilometer day. You would have canvas, the front tyre, the mousse will be sticking out the sidewall from the impacts. But now that it's sand, 90% of the race is sand, the tyres don't seem to be an issue. And it does make what I went back to, save the tyre, save the motorcycle, save the engine, don't crash, stay on the bike. It all makes to a winning formula in the Dakar.
So that balance between head and balls is more head.
100%. You have to. My stipulation is that the guys should be sleeping in tents and not in an air-conditioned motorhome.
Because you slept in tents every bloody time.
13 Dakars, I slept in a two-man tent. I don't know why they call it a two-man tent, because who wants to sleep in the tent with another man? But it's a two-man tent. And I want to tell you, when you've been on that bike for 4 or 5 days and you hang your knee guards up inside the tent and you've got your socks off for a couple of days, it's not a pretty smell inside that two-man tent. So yeah, you see those guys in motorhomes, air conditioning. That's a little bit wussy, if you ask me, but that's my opinion.
Tell it like it is, Alfie. Absolutely love it.
I'm so glad Alfie mentioned that, because somebody asked in our comments, what do you think of the conditions in the bivouacs compared to your time? And
I mean,
I think
in
he's
my
just
day,
asked and answered it.
we would just have an airfield, a dirt airfield where the planes would land. You'd try and put your tent up where there's stones, where you had to move the stones out the way. So while you were sleeping between little rocks that are pushing in your back. These guys get there, the truck's been running, the aircon's on, your clothes are all lined up in the wardrobe. If you've got your girlfriend or your loved one there, she's already made food for you. We had to wait till 7:30 till the dinner time. You lived on muesli bars and little whatever they gave you as a ration pack every day. So life was actually good in the Dakar. Hot showers. We never had showers. There's no water in North Africa. You had a bottle and a bucket. So the boys have to be a little bit happy with the Dakar at the moment. So yes, the days might be tough, as they say they are, but your living conditions are a lot better than they are in countries that can't offer you green grass on a nice field, you know.
I'm hearing or suspecting that there could be, in terms of the Alfie Cox merchandise, you could be selling little bottles of cement pills so you can take two and harden the hell up.
There's a cup for sure. Yeah, that'll work well. Let's do that. Take a cup of cement. Yeah.
There you go. So there's we use that for Bradley as a fundraising exercise. Is cement pills to harden up. I'm sure that every biker would. Tucky, you would buy them, wouldn't you?
Definitely.
And you donate them to somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're a hard man.
Yeah, we'd look for somebody that needs them out at Dakar, and we'd send that through to them.
Yeah.
And perhaps we should donate part of our sales of the DBAC caps to the Dakar Fund. Andrew, you have a question.
I have an interesting one from Vaughan Jacobs. Alfie, you raced against Franco Pico back in your time.
Yeah.
Who's now 65 and finished 43rd. Can you believe it?
Yeah, Franco Pico. But when I talk about a hard Italian, I mean, Franco still runs tours in Morocco. He still takes groups through North Africa. When I was testing my bike we used to go down to Tunisia to test before the Dakar, run our engines and test our race bikes and our suspension a month before the Dakar. And Franco Pico used to come in to the hotel in Tunisia with a whole group of guys from Italy, still enjoying life, riding his bike. And I'm hoping I can still be on a bike at his age. And I don't want to go and do the Dakar, that's for sure, not on a motorcycle. But yeah, he's given it a go. And I take
motorhome.
Yeah, look, if I was the driver, no problem, mate. But even the car, even the 4x4s they drive in between. But Tucky, he was on an aeroplane. I mean, how easy, difficult.
That's not.
I mean, that to me,
and when he gets there, somebody's put his two-man tent up.
No, I had to put my own one up and fold it down.
Jeez, that must have been tough, eh?
I got tangled in the tent
that
the
is
first
just
2 days.
pussy,
Those
eh?
tents just attack you.
Tucky. It's a figure of 8. How difficult can it be? But you're a Greek. You should be able to handle this. Yeah. Right. Alfie, can you send a box of cement pills to Tucky the Greek to harden up?
That's just not on, eh? You have to be flying an aeroplane every day.
Right. It's guys, it's been Friday. That fat lady is warming up, and she's going to sing for the end of 2 weeks of absolute magnificence, of joy that I've had of being involved in the gees of racing. I think I've learned a lot. I've got some passion and renewed again. and we've met some fantastic people. Guys have sat here with tears in their eyes telling us stories. The emotion's been magnificent. We've been privileged enough to have guests topped off by Alfie Cox. Sorry to all the rest of the guys, Ian Pepper, Pigeon, you know, it's been absolutely magnificent. Alfie Cox, you, sir, are an absolute legend, the hard man of Dakar, the hard man of South African cycling. I salute you and thank you for all the stuff, even in the track racing cars where you caused unmitigated mayhem. It was totally magnificent. So, Alfie, thank you for joining us. And good luck with Bradley in 2023. For sure, we'll
Thank you
do
very
whatever
much.
we can to help you guys get there.
We appreciate it.
My blonde lady and my bald man. Let's
Who's
some
bald?
last comments. You.
Who's bald?
Well, relatively
Your
speaking.
dream.
The horn
Colin,
dog.
Relatively.
I can't believe it's actually the end of our 2-week journey. I can't wait for 2022. There is one thing that I do want to just quickly throw out there. So we did take a little bit of heat in terms of women in motorsport, and please don't ever forget, we call the Southern Africa Dakar Group, and we call the Southern Africa Dakar Group for a reason. We only focus on our Southern African athletes. So if you want international news about other riders or people in the sport, please feel free to go and look on those platforms. We only had one SA lady at Dakar this year, Tay Perry. We discussed her every single night. And of course, next year we're looking forward to at least 3 that we know of already. We've got, it will be Tay and Kirsten, and then Alvine hopefully is going.
Alvine must be. We're waiting for confirmation from out of Peter Maritzburg from Neil Woolridge Motorsport. We haven't had a denial. Therefore, it must be true. Yes.
You know, so I'd say a very special thank you to Johan van Deventer. Johan and I have walked a very long road together. He is a timing machine. He is the person responsible for stats updates on all of our groups, to all of the athletes groups that we help run. I have been asked by Derek Wilson in Botswana, please add the Botswana honey badger to James Alexander's list of growing names. Apparently they both like nightlife. And of course, to you all, I can't thank you enough. Colin, Andrew, Fritz Henk, it's been an absolutely wonderful experience. And all I can say is support local, get behind our guys, get sponsorships going, support the Tanker Rally, support the Kalahari, and let me not make this DBAC.
Ah, there you go. Steffi, you bought into it. Lovely. Horn Dog, last. Oh, before you go, Horn Dog, news fresh in. I am told I needed a second source before we mentioned this, but there was Jean Todt flew in to Dakar on Wednesday and met with the ASO and had in-depth meetings. And the culmination of that, and I'm sure that they will announce it when they're good and ready, but I'm good and ready right now. I have 2 sources that are both impeccable. So there will be, apparently, I'm told, I'm led to believe, the FIA Cross-Country World Championship in 2022, and the flagship race of this FIA World Championship will be Dakar 2022. They are talking about the balance of performance and getting that right, and the FIA and the ASO are all of a sudden, to coin a phrase, China's, and they're going to work it out. So that's my last little bit of stuff for this show, and yeah, it's been bloody magnificent. Horn Dog.
Has been a hell of a lot of fun. I would just like to take a moment to thank Henk and Fritz for all their time. Steffi, the sleepless nights, the videos, the updates, everything that you do, a huge, huge thank you. And big hats off to Colin. I mean, the amount of time, energy, and effort you put into the show and getting the guests and lining it all up. I think, there are not enough thanks to you. We look forward to covering Dakar next year. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in. The support has been absolutely fantastic, and we can't wait to bring you more.
Awesome
Thing
stuff.
from Chris Andrews, and this might be a way to end the show. It might also not. It's up to Alfie. Would you start your Dakar bike inside your house?
I would, but unfortunately the battery's flat, and Hazel's allowed us to keep it here since the lockdown. And I just said to her, it's too much of a mission to get out the house, so just leave it there. And she's losing
As
her
long as she
patience,
believes
but she's okay. Yeah, no, it does run, but the batteries are flat, so it's not going to run tonight. But yeah, I'd like to make a noise, blow the house down, but. It's been a great evening, guys. Thank you very much. But yeah, what is the motto? Grow some balls, take a cup of cement. What else is there?
Let's go with let's have some cement. Take a Cox cement pull.
No. Anybody can do it, man.
Alfie, thank you so much for joining us, and
Pleasure.
We are privileged, and good luck for the future.
Thanks very much, guys. Good night.
Good night. Thanks.
Thanks.
And the last
Good
one,
night.
before everybody else goes, Taki the Greek, Taki Bojarges. Thank you very much for joining us, and good luck with the Kawasaki. You've got to have a T-shirt printed. If you don't ride a Kawa, you're a twat. I mean a twit.
I'm sure
Sorry.
Ian's got hands on that.
Ian must have. If I haven't offended you, just hang in there. I've got a couple more minutes. I'm working on it. Good luck, and thanks a lot for always being available to us and the smiles. We do appreciate
thanks for
this.
having us on the show, and thanks for having the show every evening. I mean, it's been great, just almost a catch-up afterwards, chatting about the local guys, the South Africans out there, the cars, and some insight for everybody. I mean, with social media, it makes it a lot easier to follow, but often you don't get the insider information, and it's always great to have a place that talks about it and figures it all out and shares it with the community following Dakar.
You say nice things, Taki. You can come back. Right. So, to the viewers, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your comments, your support, your likes, the one dislike. If you got, I just want to know who you are, and you've got my number. Send me if you don't like it. Just tell me why. I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure to be a small part of this Dakar interest community. I'm privileged to have a support team around us from our newest member, Steffi Vetter and Johan from the Southern African Dakar Group have been absolutely generous in their time and information and sharing and enthusiasm. I salute you, Steffi and Johan, and thank you so much for all the effort that you put into it. It's been bloody magnificent. To Andrew the Horn Dog, sometimes you take my abuse all the time. I thank you for keeping in touch via the interwebs and the Facebooks and the YouTubes. You do a sterling job, my boy, and I truly appreciate it. It makes it a lot easier to have a complete show. To the catering department, I'm so sorry that yesterday I slagged you off because you did a cuck job. You redeemed yourself today, and you can come back. And then to the two people who really drive the show and actually make it happen, that we just happen to be a tiny little part of. And that's Henk and Fritz, who's sitting over there. They are absolutely magnificent and have allowed me and to have a playground, to have fun and to go home exhausted every night. Thank you so much, guys. You do a stellar, fantastic job. They are both members number 1 and number 2 of the DBAC Club. May you have a fantastic weekend. It's Friday, brew, and be nice, have fun. We'll see you again. Who knows when? We'll take the muzzles off. Cheers. Thanks for watching.